Alright, so here is the video of all the gear that I am ending my hike with. 700 miles with this, some of it I got partly along the way, but I'll show you all the stuff that I'm ending with and what I would have continued the trail with, and talk about the stuff that I sent home as well as the stuff that I sent home but was planning on getting back had I gotten up north when it was starting to get cold again. So I'll just start with what I'm wearing. Up here I've got the hat on that I've been wearing basically the entire time. It's Sunday hat from Amazon. Obviously it folds and stuff. It's lost its shape a little bit here, so it probably would need replacing after this hike. It's also, you can see there's a little snag there. I have been washing it in the washing machine since it gets all nasty and sweaty. But other than that, it does its purpose, so that's great. Then I'll show you my fleece here. Does have a nice hood and whatnot on it that I've worn quite a bit. As you can see, I'm obviously wearing it now. It's held up pretty well, no issues with it whatsoever. It doesn't even really smell that bad, mainly because I don't actually hike in it. I just wear it when I'm around town or in a hostel or whatever. And then I'll show you the rest of the stuff. And just in the mirror here, you can see the hiking pants that I've been wearing. These are the Smart Wools that I got when I was in Damascus. Despite the fact that they're pretty thin, they haven't torn or anything since I've been walking in them. They do, I guess, kind of stretch out a little bit after you've been wearing them for a few days, so it is kind of vital to wash them to get the same fit back again. And then you can see I've got some KT tape still on my foot, given the whole Achilles situation. Over here I've got the shirt that I picked up in Damascus, the Jolly gear that I've been wearing since then. This is held up pretty well. No crazy smells, no snags or anything. Definitely spilled food and stuff on it, but it doesn't even stain either. The food doesn't stick to it, so that's been great. And it also has the hood for sun protection, which I love. And then I still have the same sleep shirt, underwear, ex officio, and REI co-op pants that I've been carrying this whole time. These pants do have a couple of snags in them, and as well as like a hole in the front side somewhere around there. So those are probably would have needed replacement, and at this point they're gonna need replacement anyway since they're all holy. So yeah, everything else kind of held up pretty well. I've got my sleep mat here, which is pretty dirty actually. The dirt just kind of sticks to it. I tried to wash it in the hotel shower, but you can only do so much there, so yeah, it is what it is. I've got my backpack here, the same backpack that I started with. It does have, I mean, it's pretty dirty, it smells pretty bad, and it's got some holes in it a little bit, like the pocket here, just from snagging from when you're putting like the water bottle into it, and some other little tiny spots around there. It's held together all right, but I don't know if this would be like something I would want to wear again. It's not the most comfortable of packs. I did notice that there was a part of my back that was starting to like tingle and be a little numb just from wearing this pack all the time. So I don't know if that's just from me dealing with heavy stuff or the pack itself, since I haven't tried this with another pack. But other than that, it held up all right. It is still pretty dirty, so great, getting dirt everywhere. Got my black diamond trekking poles here. I did have to tighten up this once on the trail, so it was useful to have a screwdriver with me for when that happened. Had I continued, I probably would have had to replace the tips at about the halfway point, but then that it held up pretty well. And then I've got my umbrella, which was like my favorite piece of gear basically. This, I used the bungee cord to kind of attach it when it was in the pocket here, next to a water bottle, and then when it was attached to my shoulder pad, I used the attachment that I purchased with it, as well as this little clip here that came with the backpack, and that held everything together. And then I have the watch that I have that was just hanging there on my shoulder strap so I could see it when I was walking, but I didn't have to wear it. Here I've got the CNOC 2-liter bladder as well as the Catadin Be Free in there. The Catadin Be Free came with the 1-liter sack. I ended up just leaving that in a hiker box since the CNOC bag did the job and didn't really need to get a second one there. And then I have my toilet kit, the trowel, the duct tape on it. I never really used this duct tape roll here. I also had some on the trekking pole. It was more just to keep my hands from getting too messed up using that. I've got some toilet paper in here, some foaming soap sheets that work really well, but they do require quite a bit of water. And then I have these little towelettes that you add some water to and can rinse whatever off. And those work pretty well and with very little water, so those were useful to have. I kept sending resupplies of myself with these. I didn't use nearly as many as I thought I would, but I did have a good supply of that. On my feet, Darn Tough socks. These are new ones that I ended up getting at trail days, just replacing from the ones that had holes in them from when I started. I also had these Zero shoes that I ended in. They have a wider toe box than the Solomons, so they probably would have been better in the beginning rather than towards the end there, just because my feet got a little swollen in the beginning, but then they were fine after that. So these ones, I actually bought them before I started the trail, and I didn't have to worry about the size or anything, so my feet went back to normal by the time I got them. But yeah, they definitely run a little bit smaller than the Solomons though, so if you are gonna get these for the trail and you think your feet are gonna get bigger, or they are bigger, you're gonna need to size up. Then I've got my Crocs. These were great, wore them every day at camp. They were great during trail days with all the mud and whatnot. Yes, they are still like permanently muddy at this point, despite the fact that I've taken many showers with them, so they are clean. They're just stained, I guess, at this point, but they work well. There's only a couple people actually wearing yellow, but pretty much everybody wears Crocs out there. Also carried with me this Cotopaxi fanny pack. Carried this the whole way. It is a little distorted and messed up over here, but that's on me. I put it in the washing machine. It smelled really bad. It needed to go in there. So yeah, carried that. It worked well because I was able to put my phone in the pocket and then hook my headphones up to it and not have to worry about those falling down or whatever. This also, it says it's water resistant, but I never had any issues with anything inside it getting wet. Yes, I did have the umbrella on when I was hiking, so this was kind of covered by it, but on the times that I didn't, even if it just did get wet, the stuff inside of it stayed safe and dry. In this front little pocket here, I also had nail clippers, which I use quite a bit, a compass that I never used, some Vaseline, yeah, had a different one that I started out with, and then that ran out, so got another one. This Swiss Army knife. This is what had the screwdriver on it that allowed me to fix my trekking poles. It also has scissors on it, which I used quite a bit to cut KT tape, and then some of the snacks and food that I had. I don't think I ever actually really used the knife. No, I did use the knife. I used it when I was opening up the packages that were mailed to me. And then there's some tweezers there and a toothpick. I never really used either of those things, but in the event that I needed them, they were there. I had a lighter that I carried on me. This ended up just being for starting fires since I wasn't doing any actual cooking on the trail. Also in the big pocket, other than my phone, I carried my wallet and this tick key, which I thankfully never had to use, but I had it just in case. And I also carried my Appalachian Trail passport, which I didn't actually show this before or what I've gotten on it, but it basically has like your trail number that you type in, and then you can just get stamps along the way. I also started adding stickers in there, like one from Fontana Village, Clingman's Dome, some random stamps from different hostels and places. All of these are from Damascus Trail Days, stickers from the different booths that I went to. Got some equipment stickers, some other stuff from Marion, the Garden Hostel, Weary Feet, and then the last one, the sticker that I got at the old Salem Brewing Company. I stopped in there and they gave me a free sticker, so that's gonna be my last tip in there for this year. But yeah, that's my passport book. I thought it was kind of cool just to have something as a souvenir for when I'm on the trail. Next is my food bear bag. So I started out with bear canister, swapped it with this. This is so much better, so much lighter. It does have a bear hanging kit that I use inside of it. This already got a little tore up with rocks, so it's not the best. I will say that I did sleep with my food quite a bit, so didn't really use that much unless they were like known bear activity, or if I was completely solo in the area and just kind of rest it at that point. Here's my little toothpaste kit. I still have the toothpaste tablets, some floss. I did have to get a new toothbrush. I dropped the other one on the ground and it was pretty gross, so got that one there just from some random CVS. Here I have the pump sack for my sleeping pad thermarest. This was great to have. It weighs like nothing, so it was useful to have on there. All of that, including my tent, the Gossamer Gear, the one. I still have the original tent stakes, which I did have some toques that I wanted trail days, but I tried them out once and bent one of the stakes, so I got rid of them because they were kind of useless. And I would shove that all in this dry sack here. This would often be pretty wet when I would put it in here, so this just helped contain the mud and grossness in my pack to this one bag versus getting on all the rest of my stuff. Rest of my stuff here that I have, so I've got these glasses straps that I wore for a little bit. I got them in Damascus because my glasses kept sliding down. They had this rubber squeegee thing which actually kept them secured to my head, and I lost that somewhere along the way, so they became useless. I would have to get another pair if I was going to keep going. They are very nice to have, but that stupid strap thingy fell off and that was kind of annoying. Then I've got just a bag of all miscellaneous toiletry items. So I've got a razor, the extra water tablet purification stuff in case my Katadyn died or whatever, I lost it. Never actually had to use those, but I have them just in case. Some extra pills. It didn't really take any medication, maybe a few ibuprofens here and there, but that's about it. Some Neosporin, which I did use when I got cut. I used like a handful of bandages and alcohol pads, and then I also used some of this Leuko tape too, but that was more in the beginning when I first got some blisters, but then the blisters stopped, so didn't really need that anymore. There's just an extra toiletry bag in there. My menstrual disc that I used that sort of mostly worked. This is the bra that I was using, kind of like a tank top one. That worked really well. Yes, it does get wet and sweaty, but what can you do? Ex officio boxer shorts. These were great. Wore them in town quite a bit. Wore them to sleep when it was cooler out. I got some other sleep socks. So initially I started with 2 Darn Toughs. I'm not sleep socks. These are hiking socks. And then I got these Right socks instead because the first Darn Toughs were kind of giving me some blisters. These are double layer socks, which help keep the blisters from coming, and I didn't get any blisters wearing them, so I guess it worked. All of my clothes I put in this dry sack here. My fleece cap. This one was great. I would pull it down over my eyes when I was in hostels and whatnot, so anyone shining a light on would not disturb me if I was trying to sleep. My hiking sun gloves. These ones definitely are busted up from walking in them every single day. They worked great. They definitely gave me a weird tan on my hands, so it looks like my fingertips are a little bit more tanned than the rest of my hand. But yeah, they worked good. They definitely were more comfortable with the trekking poles to have these on. They do have little tiny grips on them that you can't actually see, but they're there. And yeah, definitely recommend wearing a pair of those. I also had my bug net, which I've worn quite a bit. Bugs are annoying even in April, so definitely bring those early. This is the knee brace that I started with and ended with. At one point I had a more robust knee brace, but didn't need it anymore since this one was holding up fine and my knees got better. The Nicor headlamp. Never had any issues with this running out of power or whatnot. It's pretty easy to charge as well. I did do one night hike and that kept everything illuminated really well. Didn't have any issues seeing the trail. was actually easier to spot blazes with this on than it was in the daytime, just because they really lit up with that. There was some extra KT tape and a repair kit for the sleeping pad that I got, and I would keep them in this electronic bag here, which is a big plastic sandwich bag. I did replace this bag a few times. And then also inside this bag, I had another bag which would hold the rest of my electronics, the power bank and some cords. The wall adapter is currently plugged in, but I had that as well. And then these are extra earplug holders for my earplugs here that I kept and used these every day, even when I was out in the woods. Those birds in the morning can get super annoying, so if you don't want to wake up at the crack of dawn like they do, then these are good to have. Definitely can't open this little tiny case with one hand. But yeah, those are the earplugs that I kept. Cooler cloth, which I just had hanging from my bag, that is sort of tearing apart too. I would throw that in the washing machine as well, so it's starting to come apart, and I would probably have needed to purchase another one, even though it still works perfectly fine and well. The pillow that I had, the Sea to Summit, this is about as much as I would inflate it. I discovered that if it's fully inflated, it's actually really not that comfortable, but when it's a little less inflated, it holds your head pretty nicely. This is just a smaller one, but considering the width of my sleeping pad, it works out pretty well. And then my sleeping quilt here and lightened equipment. It did get a hole in it, and there's a couple of other little ones as well, so I just threw some duct tape on there. I did hear that they have no iron patches, but I did not start with those. If I was to do this again, or eventually do the other half, I would get those patches instead to try and hold this up a little bit better. Also, there aren't really any places to wash this on the trails, so it's not gonna smell the prettiest, but it held up really nice and good to have. The straps for the sleeping mat were perfect. The one thing on this that didn't hold up very well would be this at the top here. So this just has like parts where it's not, like this is fluffy and there's like nothing there. So it didn't really hold up too well for this area here. But the rest of it you can see is still pretty fluffy with down. There's definitely some spots where the down is less fluffy. So I can't imagine this lasting for years, but it does the job for out on the trail. All right, so that is all the gear that I'm ending with. I also sent home my puffy jacket, as well as my sleeping bag liner and this buff that I had that I never actually wore. That all subtracted, plus some of the new stuff that I got, was about 4.5 pounds lighter than my original base weight. So I'm ending with 16.36 pounds as a base weight, which isn't the lightest, but still significantly lighter from when I started, which is great. I think it might have even gotten lighter towards the end, although I would have planned to bring my winter gear back, which also included my sleep socks. I did send those home as well. I would have brought those back had I stayed longer, given like New Hampshire, Maine would have been colder when I finally got to those states. So if I do come back and finish the trail at some point and end up in wintertime as well, those weight will probably come back on, just given that it will get cold at different times.